Hello everyone, welcome back to the Will the Reaper channel. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the core SpongeBob characters based on how much they contribute to the show. Things such as like humor and, themselves just as a character, their character design and everything. So let's get right into it. Mr. Krabs is going to get a B tier. He's a very important character to the show because he just like basically harasses SpongeBob the entire time. He's just a huge cheapskate. He sold SpongeBob's soul for 52 cents, and he's just a really horrible guy, to be honest. I would put him in F tier arguably, but the reason why he's getting a B tier is because he's very funny. He has a lot of humor that contributes to the show, and I like that, so he's getting a B tier. But him as a person is so bad. He honestly pisses me off sometimes, just watching how cheap he is. So Mr. Krabs gets a B tier. Patrick gets an A tier. I'm gonna only rank these off of the old SpongeBob, by the way, not the new ones, because the new ones they'd all get F tiers. I hate the new SpongeBob, but for the old SpongeBob, Patrick is supposed to be like the dumb character, right? The butt of the joke for a lot of the jokes made in the show. But there's been times during a few episodes when he has a character dynamic and he becomes extremely intelligent for like a few seconds, and it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that character dynamic change. So he gets an A tier. He also carries a lot of the humor, most of the humor actually for the show, which is great. But he does not get an S tier because the S tier is reserved for a few people. SpongeBob, right along Patrick, he gets an A tier. Literally the main character of the show. Has a lot of humor. He loves his job at the Krusty Krab. I'd say his persistent optimism is very unrealistic. Which for me, when I was younger, it kind of deterred me from liking, his ideas and stuff. But he's a very well written character. I love him to death. He gets an A tier. Squidward gets an S tier. Undoubtedly, he has a great lot of humor, made from him. He's also the butt of the jokes for a lot of things. Except for him, he's very realistic. He's a lot more on the pessimistic side, but he's very realistic. And one of the reasons why SpongeBob's so great, and a lot of people say this, is that when you're younger, you sympathize with SpongeBob. When you're older, you sympathize with Squidward. And Squidward is just such a well-written character. He always has his wits about him. He always tries to take things from a logical side, even though it's mostly pessimistic. But you just feel bad for him. He wants to be famous with his clarinet, and he's just struggling to do so. So he gets an S tier. Sandy gets an A tier. It's pretty cool that someone not from the sea is in the show. Squirrel who does karate, trying to do research, and so she's underwater. But if she ever takes her helmet off, she pretty much dies. Like in the one episode where she goes off against these four, it's supposed to be like sea creatures versus land creatures. And when she took her helmet off, she had to put a pickle jar on her head because she couldn't breathe and almost died. But yeah, she gets an A tier. Karen gets an F tier. Really doesn't do much. She tries to help Plankton, but unless she gives him a really good idea, she kind of just like annoys Plankton and everything. Doesn't really do much for the show. F tier. Mrs. Puff, I argue, gets an S tier. The few moments she is on the show, it's very funny, and you can't help but feel bad for her because every single time SpongeBob takes his driver's test. I forgot how many times, but I think it's like 352 times he's taken his driver's test and failed. Like every time, Mrs. Puff just gets into some kind of horrible accident. She basically has a heart attack every time she like puffs up anyway. She's always getting rushed to the hospital. You just cannot help but feel bad for her. She gets an S tier. I love Mrs. Puff. Pearl gets an F tier easily, probably easily like worse than Karen. I mean, she has like a few moments on the show, like when Plankton was terrified of Pearl. That was a pretty funny episode. But in reality, like she's just needy, which makes sense because she's a teenager. But if you think about it, like Mr. Krabs tries to be a good father, but he really isn't, and that would reflect why Pearl is like such a horrible character. But all she wants is just what she wants. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't care about anyone really. All she wants is to mooch off of her father's money, and that's it. She doesn't get her way. She starts sobbing and everything. You know. I will admit though, the the birthday wish of wanting boys who cry. That's a pretty good birthday wish. I'll admit. Good job, Pearl. Gary gets a C tier. I mean, you know, like he's just there. When he ran away from home, that's easily the saddest episode in the entire show. Gary Come Home is such a sad song. I absolutely love it. But other than that, like he's just there. You know, it doesn't really do much. C tier. Same with the pirate. I used to like him, but he just kind of screams now. It's just like whatever, kind of a headache inducing character, but he is arguably one of the most notable intros in all of television. So he gets that C tier. Larry the Lobster gets a B tier. I mean, he just works out and stuff like that. He's an absolute Giga Chad, but I mean, other than that, like I don't know, he's kind of just there. Mermaid Man is gonna get a B tier. He's very funny. I love Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, but a lot of the times the jokes written about him are just like his old age and how it's catching up to him. And it's kind of sad. B tier. Barnacle Boy gets an A tier. I love this picture, by the way. He's just T posing. Um, much like Mermaid Man, he's also his old age is also getting to him, and it's sad, but it's also kind of funny. Except Barnacle Boy actually has his wits about him, so it's kind of funny watching him, completely berate and insult Mermaid Man sometimes. But yeah, he gets an A tier, and then lastly, Plankton gets an A tier. I want to give him an S tier so badly because he's such an awesome character. His one goal in life is to piss off Mr. Krabs and take his formula. But the only reason why he's not getting an S tier is because in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Sponge Out of Water, which was the second movie, he turns into like a Giga Chad with the powers he got, and when he finally gets his secret formula, instead of taking it, his whole character's written around taking the formula. He decides to give it to SpongeBob, and for that, he's not getting an S tier. That got me so upset when I first saw the movie, but other than that, he's such an awesome character. Gotta give him an A tier. So, yes, that's gonna do it for the main SpongeBob characters. If you guys have differing opinions, please let me know in your thoughts in the comments down below. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it will truly help me out a lot. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. See ya.